are good.
All right, please call the roll.
Chair Mersick,
Here.
Commissioner Livermore,
Here.
Commissioner Nikki Toby, Commissioner Hartley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Boschnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Stolzer and Eric Stolzer, and we've been advised that we cannot hear your appeal or make changes based on the new ordinance. So I'm sorry to have given that. Between the finance office and the city attorney and the city administrator, they said no. So we are not making any changes. We're going to discuss, if you want to stay, we're going to discuss the new ordinance. It actually, I think we're going to be treating people worse, but we'll see when we discuss it. But we're going to go on with the meeting. Yes.
I would like the opportunity to present the single page prepared into.
We're going to go on with our meeting, and we'll listen to you. We'll listen at the end.
No, Chair, what formal notification did we get about any of this from anyone?
You'll be receiving a letter from my office indicating the advice of the attorney and that it cannot be reopened and reheard.
A point of order was that there was a discrepancy in the November meeting whereby my electrical violation had never been fully heard. There was a disruption at the October meeting which precluded any decision to be made at that, and that was made. I mean, that decision was made the last meeting. And so I don't understand how this follows any sort of precedence or formal proceeding in due process at all.
That would be something to take up with counsel if you feel there needs to be further action, not common counsel, attorney counsel.
So in other words, the city of, I would like you to be clear on what you're saying.
That the
So
city
what
will
you're-
not be rehearing it. That's as clear as I'm gonna say it.
And so in other words, I have to sue the city with an Article 78. That's
You would
what you're
have to,
advising us to do.
I am advising you to speak to your counsel and take action that you feel is necessary from there. I'm not giving advice. I will not give advice. I cannot give advice.
Where
but-
is the precedence of this?
You would
In
have to
any-
speak with counsel. Jim, I'm not.
Jim, you're not what? I'm trying to understand.
I know, and all I can tell you is that you have to speak with a counsel if you feel that there is further action to be taken. We have been advised that we are not to hear it, that we cannot hear it, that it cannot be reopened.
How does the city attorney or the city administrator in any way advocate on top of this board? How is that even possible? In no part of the charter does it say any of that.
The city attorney represents the city and its interests. If you feel that there is action taken that you do not agree with, you may want to speak with counsel.
Would the board be willing to hear a renewed appeal?
No, the appeal has been heard and decided.
I want to speak on the agenda. Mr. Lobb asked to be put over to the next meeting. And we've made a decision on the heating inspection already. So it would just be the smoke and heat detectors and alarms. So I would like to have a motion to table number 1 under old business.
I'll make that motion.
And 1 second.
Ready?
Okay,
Chair Mertzick,
yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boschnick.
Yes.
Passed.
Okay, on the next item, we received this appeal before our last meeting, related to the heating inspection at 15 Columbia Street. We didn't have very much information before our last meeting because it just came in, and so I'm going to ask John to speak to the sequence of events related to the new furnace that was installed at 15 Columbia?
So, Mr. Wiedemann, I think it's Wiedemann.
Yeah.
Yep. He had an administrative fee letter. One of the things in the administrative fee letter was a housing inspection. And when I conducted that housing inspection, during that inspection, Mr. Wiedemann advised me that the heating system was old. He knows there's a requirement to get it inspected, but he wanted to get it replaced. He had been trying to get in contact with plumbers to replace the system. And, for us, we hear that and we know that there's action being done, but it doesn't stop anything until we actually get, say, a plumbing permit or a heating inspection itself. So yes, he did make me aware that he was trying to get somebody to replace it, and I think he contacted one plumber. They couldn't get to it. Then he contacted another plumber who attempted to turn in a plumbing permit for replacing the system, but he didn't pay for it when he turned it in. So we knew this was happening, and again, it didn't meet the deadline and stated in the letter. But we had communication regarding it, so we knew what happened.
When did he receive the letter, and when did you contact him?
Let's see, July 22nd, 2025, the letter was sent.
And then he contacted you about the furnace, when was that?
That was during a housing inspection. And that housing inspection, let's see if I can make it here for you. See if I can now look.
The housing inspection was before the due date, according
Yes.
to your records.
Yes.
So he had notified the code enforcement office that he was planning to replace the furnace, which would eliminate the need for a heating inspection until the new furnace is in.
So August 13th was the housing inspection. And the due date on that administrative fee.
When was the furnace included?
The heating inspection was due, according to this letter, September 20th. And he
Yeah.
didn't get the new furnace in by September 20th, but he was attempting to. So,
When did he finally get the furnace?
Let's see when that permit was dated. And again, that permit is right there.
let's see what we have here.
So October 2nd is when we got a plumbing permit.
Well, getting the plumbing permit stops the process, he's now.
Yes.
Right, he's replacing the system, so.
I think in this case, the recommendation of the code enforcement office is to accept that and waive the administrative fee or approve the appeal, because he was in the process of replacing, which has been done.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty clear in that paragraph.
Yeah, we permit that when a new furnace is being
Was that a
installed.
motion?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you made the motion. Okay, great, thank you.
Second.
Further discussion?
Chair Merzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Harley,
Yes.
Commissioner Boschnick.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is the request by the Code Enforcement Office to declare unsafe apartment 307 at 34 Deed Street.
So this one is Lofts on Dietz. There's a particular apartment that has, at this point, a transient resident population. This is just a picture of the fire department. There's also, the fire department has a national fire incident reporting system. I've got multiple calls in here. There's narratives that go along with it, and what they've done is they've disabled the smoke detectors by putting bags over them. Anytime you do something to that effect, immediately unsafe. It's an unsafe condition. So this might resolve itself, but procedurally, it's an unsafe apartment at this point. What I mean by resolving itself is they actually have a court date to evict everyone inside. Once they get that eviction, anybody caught going into that apartment could be criminally charged.
But if we declare it unsafe, we're assisting the documentation process in the eviction of whomever is in there because of the unsafe smoke or fire prevention devices.
Right. Not only that, but we're documenting that this is an unsafe condition, so anything in there that happens at this point in time, the police department might be able to get additional charges.
I'll make a motion to declare apartment 307 unsafe.
I'll second.
Probably we have to identify the.
Why, yeah.
Right.
Where's that letter? I can give you some guidance on that too.
D, I would say D and I. That's.
I put E as well, and I specifically highlighted unsafe.
Which one?
E and I had on the letter that
And
I
what
had
was
in here.
what
Well, I would.
I'm sorry?
What are those conditions?
Oh,
E.
I'll read them.
Yep.
D is those which have been damaged by fire, wind, or other causes so as to become dangerous to life, safety, morals, and general health and welfare of the occupants or the people of the city of Oneonta. E is those which have become so dilapidated, decayed, unsafe, unsanitary, or which so utterly fail to provide the amenities essential to decent living that they are unfit for human habitation or are likely to cause sickness or disease so as to work injury to the health, moral, safety, and general welfare of those living within. And then I is those which because of their condition are unsafe, unsanitary, or dangerous to the health, moral, safety, or general welfare of the people of the
Could
city.
you read D again, please? D again?
D was the first one, that is damaged by fire, wind, or other causes so as to become dangerous.
So the other cause would be the tenants putting.
Well, damaged, that's the operable word. That's why I would recommend we include D. E is
We got it.
because it has squatters in it, I suppose. I mean, I don't know what the rest of the conditions are. Have you been in the apartment?
No. So we've tried to enter with the police department. Nobody answers the door. The police department is interested in getting in there too, but nobody answers the door. So these pictures are related to the fire department entry. So once they get a fire alarm, they are able to enter that apartment via the manager or on site. So that gains entry to that particular apartment. But every time they go in there, it's empty. Because as soon as the fire alarm goes off, people scatter.
So D, E, and I.
So do I need to add that?
If you're good with adding that,
Yeah.
and you're good with seconding that.
Okay, I will second that.
Charles already
Oh,
did.
Charles did.
Yeah.
You
he's
guys
on it.
were really fast down there at that end of the table. All right, thank you. Yeah.
Chair Mertzi,
Yes,
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley, Commissioner Boschnick.
yes. Okay, so our remedy, which is part 2 of our action, is we can order it vacated, which is I think what we're going to do, and repaired. It certainly doesn't qualify for demolition. So I make a motion that we order the building to the apartment 307 to be vacated and repaired.
Give a timeline.
what do you think as far as the timeline?
I was gonna say immediately.
In-
You've
okay.
got a fire alarm system that's not working.
I'll second that.
That works. Thank you.
Chair Martzick,
Yes.
Commissioner Livermore,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartley,
Yeah.
Commissioner Boschnick.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, let's turn to the end of our packet. And we have the full ordinance, ordinance 11 and ordinance 12. And I have reviewed for you they're long, and only a certain section of them appeal to, or apply to our work. So if you look at the second to the last page in your packet, under G, well, we might as well do F too. F is any person who receives a notice of violation, abatement, invoice, or administrative fee may appeal to the Board of Public Service. Appeals must be received in writing by the Code Enforcement Office within 30 days of the date of the notice. Appeals must include specific allegations of error or hardship as outlined below. Appeals not meeting these criteria may be dismissed without further hearing. Then, the board may uphold, reduce, or waive administrative fees based on the following considerations. Evidence of prompt corrective action. The appellant took timely and documented steps to abate the violation after receiving notice. Acceptable documentation includes, but is not limited to, dated photographs, third-party contractor receipts, inspection reports, or submission of completed forms required by the city. Compliance must be both physically performed and administratively recorded through the submission of required forms or certifications to be considered for appeal. Failure to submit required documentations to the Code Enforcement Office in a timely manner may result in a continued accrual of administrative fees regardless of when the corrective work was performed. That's number one. Number two, demonstrated lack of legal control. The appellant provides evidence that they did not have legal control over the premises at the time of violation. Examples include a terminated lease, property sale, or other valid transfer of control. We've had one instance of that where there was a order of protection against the property owner, and they were not permitted to enter the property. That's another example of what we could consider. And then preventive measures undertaken to the violation. The appellant shows that they took specific documented steps to prevent the violation before it occurred. Examples include lease language, signage, tenant notices, or other verifiable efforts. And then 4, mitigating circumstances. The violation was caused by events beyond the appellant's control, such as medical emergencies, vandalism, or third-party error. The board may also consider good faith efforts to comply after learning of the violation. That's probably the most complicated of the statements. H says, minimum fee protection. Notwithstanding the foregoing criteria, the Board of Public Service shall not reduce or waive any administrative fee to an amount less than greater of the minimum fee established by this chapter, which is $250, or 50% of the original assessed fee, unless there's clear evidence that the city made a factual or procedural error in assessing the fee. So those are the new criteria. And in ordinance, that's in ordinance 12.
I have one question.
Sorry?
I have one question. I can't find the minimum fee of $250. Is that in here someplace?
I didn't see that.
Oh,
I know.
It has the first violation, second violation, but
that is because that doesn't apply to us. That only applies to the code enforcement office. That the code enforcement office can
Okay, I got it.
can assess an additional fee for repeat violations.
It's in the table.
But that does not apply to us. That part of the code does not apply to us.
The answer is that. it's-
I'll tell you where it is.
It's in a chart, which we don't have.
It is,
No. We're not-
it is in this, not in this section, but it is in the end of section,
Oh, it's in the fee schedule, okay.
that's the first.
It's also in chapter 86.
no.
This is where the 250 is.
Yes, it is, but that's not what he's asking. We were told that there would be a section on repeat offenders, and it's in here, but it does not apply to our appeals.
No, the question is,
I think
the question is item H, minimum fee protection. Notwithstanding the foregoing criteria, the Board of Public Service shall not reduce or waive any administrative fee to an amount less than the greater of one, the minimum fee established by this chapter. I cannot find a minimum fee established by this chapter.
right, that's because they do it they do it over and over again, and that's what Ginny was showing you, is that every year they establish a
Fee schedule.
Well,
violation schedule,
I
and
understand that, but it says in by this chapter.
It's in chapter 86.
There's no reference in this chapter to minimum.
it is in your packet under the appeal by Mr. Wiedemann. So Mr. Wiedemann's packet
Okay.
includes the schedule of fees established from time to time by the Common Council. It looks like this.
Yes, I mean, it's under 8622, which is the administrative fee code, and it refers to administrative, it says through civil remedies, administrative fees, abatement actions, and then it refers to the chart.
The chart establishes the administrative fee. There's no mention of the minimum fee.
It says, under
I
E,
think what it says.
8622E, any person, blah, 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 who fails to schedule, provide access to required housing inspections, or submit required inspection reports for overdue inspections, inspection reports, or registrative forms will be charged with an administrative fee as may be determined and established by a duly authorized resolution made from time to time by the Common Council of the City of Oneonta.
I understand that. That establishes administrative fee. The document that we are talking about, item H, talks about the minimum fee.
Okay, the minimum fee is always $250.
It does not say that anyplace.
It does in the chart, it does in the,
I saw the chart.
fees that,
Show me the word that says minimum in the chart. Do you find minimum?
it'll be on the chart. It's the first day.
It's the initial fee. So it says
There's
initial.
no, it says initial. Initial does not mean minimum. I'm sorry.
No, that's right, that's correct. But the minimum fee is 1 day, and that's the $250. I understand.
I don't
You
want to
thi-
hold things up, but you cannot say, well, it means. It talks about a minimum fee established in this chapter, and there is no minimum fee established in this chapter. There is no other word minimum in that chapter. administrative fee, initial fee does not mean minimum. So I
Well-
think somebody needs to fix this or else get us a document. which
One
will
of the
tell them.
reasons, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you.
I understand what you believe, and I agree with you. Probably the minimum fee is $250, but it ain't written down anyplace.
Okay, and the reason it isn't $250, and you're right, is that this appeal structure, these mitigating circumstances that we're to consider, apply to snow removal, tree removal, sidewalk cleaning. I mean, it applies to everything except water and sewer, and those have no minimum fee. So in that case, it's whatever's half of whatever they were charged, because that's the greater.
Well, isn't the amount less than the greater?
Do you want to ask, before we go any farther, do you
No,
want
I
to
think
ask the
we-
common council
I think
to
we- I think-
change that wording to be initial fee?
I think we can go ahead with the discussion, assuming that indeed that's what it means. But I think somebody ought to look at this document and decide, so if I get my lawyer and I say minimum fee established by this chapter, and I read the chapter and there's no other word minimum in the chapter, I think the city loses their case. So somebody ought to correct this. I think we can continue our discussion, assuming what you assume, it's $250. I don't have a problem with that.
You have a point. You have a very good point, and I thank you for making it.
Well, and I think we can, I don't think we need to stop and wait for something else to happen.
However,
You had some other
in
concerns.
in the absence of them immediately changing this particular statute, I'd like you to look at on my little thing that I emailed to you, the last page that's in bold, and I have some suggestions for you, and Mark emailed me, and we have one more suggestion to add. So it's a good thing you're here, good thing you're here, good thing you're here. Yay. So come on up. You don't need to sit way back there if you don't want to. So,
Just stay where you are, you're safer there.
right, whatever. Okay, so my reading of this is that the procedure that has been given to us in this section, which is 9114, penalties, administrative fees, abatement costs, and appeals. Which I have to tell you is referenced in the administrative fee section this way. Appeals. All appeals under this article, which is the administrative fee section, including but not limited to challenges to violation notices, abatement invoices, administrative fees, or certificates of compliance, shall be governed by the procedures set forth in 9114 of this code. The Board of Public Service shall be the designated appeal body for all such matters. So even though this particular section of the law has to do with snow removal, hazardous trees, other things, stuff outside the house, picking up trash, when the code enforcement office has to do it, it's been referenced back to this section. So when you're considering appeals, they aren't just administrative fee appeals. And in those cases, there is no minimum. So it'll be 50% of whatever, we can't reduce it lower than 50%
Okay, so
of
I have another
whatever
thought.
the fine was.
Because that's less than 250?
Well, it doesn't reference 250 in,
Well, less than the minimum fee established.
so if there's no minimum fee, then there's no minimum fee. So
All right,
that
but-
can't be used as
Because then
the,
I had trouble with that wording of less than the greater of the minimum fee or the 50% of the established fee. I was thinking that that meant less than the lesser of those two.
Yeah, it's, shall not reduce or waive any administrative fee to an amount less than the greater of, which is, if the, let's take an example. The administrative fee is $450. Half of it would be $225.
Right.
But if they change the wording to be initial fee, it would be $250. We can't
That's the
reduce
greater
it more
of the
than
two.
$250. Because that's the greater amount.
It's perfectly simple. Your contention is that,
Well, so this says we can reduce it to 50% of the original fee?
as long as it's.
Or well, in the case of snow removal, hazardous trees, garbage, high grass, any of those fines, we can reduce it 50%. There's no minimum fee. So there's nothing for it to be greater than. It's just whatever it
And
is.
the chapter is 91?
Chapter 91 is called external code, exterior code. And it's about all those things that are outside of the property.
I don't understand your point. Item G,
Well, I'm still asking for this.
well, we keep switching back and forth.
Well,
Okay,
she's
sorry.
bringing it back up again. You want to
Well,
finish
she-
your point? I thought we did.
Well, if the minimum fee is $250, and half of the administrative fee is $100,
Well,
the
yeah.
greater of this is
Could she
$250.
explain it to me? Because when you talk about it, you always have this demeaning tone about it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's why I'm asking Marge to do it. So,
I mean, we can ask for an opinion, if you choose to do that, of what, we need a legal definition of whatever the minimum fee is. In all the other cases, it's a charge based on time and materials.
but I guess if it was clear what 1 and 2 were, the less than the greater of would be a little clearer.
Right, well, it's always greater, the greater amount. So let's say the snow removal cost was $125. And the petitioner came to us with mitigating circumstances, that they had a medical emergency and they couldn't shovel the snow that day, but they had made arrangements for someone to do it at a later time. My reading of this is that we could reduce the fee, but we can only reduce it 50%.
But also that's if they've notified code within 30 days.
Well, they have to appeal, everybody's got to appeal within 30 days, so that's a given.
Right, well, that's what I was asking you about. I was trying to see what had changed from the original here.
What
So-
changes is, first of all, that we can consider some things for non-owner occupied properties, which we've been doing all along in our compliance push, in that when someone has their, actually this disadvantages those people that we've been helping before this, because let's say a petitioner comes in and he 100% had the work done by the due date, and the inspector did not submit the paperwork. We could look at his documentation and say, we see that you got it done, and we agree that the fee can be eliminated. Now, we can't. We have to charge him at least 50% of whatever it was. We can't say, you did good, you followed the law, your inspector didn't bring your paperwork in as it should, but we approve your appeal. Now, we have to say, we approve your appeal, but it's gonna be 50% of whatever it
But
was.
that's on the things you were talking about with snow removal and tree stuff.
Well, snow removal, yeah, again, we can take those mitigating circumstances, but often we've said no because you come in with mitigating circumstances. I mean, this is in everything but administrative fees. So now let's go back to everything but. In everything but, we say you didn't shovel your sidewalk. Look, we have pictures.
I have a question. Item G says, board review criteria. The board may uphold, reduce, or waive administrative fees based on the following consideration. Where does it say other fees can be reduced?
Because
Am I
it's the
missing something?
section of the code, if you look, now you're gonna look at your big packet. You are gonna look at ordinance, 12.
What section?
Okay, here's ordinance 12, it's the end of your packet. Chapter 91, garbage, solid waste, refuge materials. We have, so the 91.1 is garbage, solid waste, and refuge materials. Section 2 is use and maintenance of receptacles, storage of bulk garbage and refuse items. Number 3 is dumping in rivers, creeks, and ditches. Number 4 is inoperable, unlicensed, uninspected, or uninsured motor vehicles left on a property. Number 5, brush, trees, grass, and vegetation. Number 6, porches, roof areas, exterior property conditions. And number 7 is sidewalk, snow, and ice. Those are the sections of code that we hear appeals to. We haven't since you've been on, because we don't have very many snow appeals when it's not winter. And we haven't had some of the other things, like people who let their grass grow ridiculously high. We go in and cut it, we charge them for it. They come in and say, well, wait a minute, I was gonna do that.
But is the charge an administrative fee?
It's a violation assessment. It's
Okay.
not a fee. This particular section of code that we've been added, where it's been added with these mitigating circumstances, applies to all of the things we just reviewed, plus administrative fees. But the only ones that have minimum charges are administrative fees. I'm sorry, I'm giving you a headache.
I just don't understand. At one point you say this new change of half and whatever, applies to other things other than administrative fees, including snow removal.
I didn't say that. In my little memo to you, it says, this procedure applies to all code appeals involving fines, snow, trees, garbage, high grass, etc., not just administrative fees.
That's exactly what it says. And the change in the document only applies to administrative fees.
No, it doesn't.
It says right here in the item I read to you, item G towards the end, the board is given power to change administrative fees. It doesn't say fees for snow removal.
One part is in the administrative fee section, and the other is in what's called the exterior code.
Okay, so.
But the
where-
list of,
Where is the part in the exterior code which gives the board power to change the fee?
that is,
I guess I missed that, I'm sorry.
well, it's always been section 9114. It's just that they repealed the section 9114 that used to be there, and which said you can appeal to the Board of Public Service, and they added this whole new section. Actually, F, I think it was F that was always there, so they didn't repeal it. If you look at F, under ordinance 12, it says, Any person who receives a notice of violation, blah, 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 may appeal to the Board of Public Service. That's for snow, grass, trees, all that other stuff. And then a section of the administrative fee code referenced that. So it's now it should have been put in both places, right? I think so, but it wasn't. So I think,
So we think this should be changed.
I don't have the control to do that.
How about we save a bunch of headaches, write up what the concerns are, let's send it to the city attorney for his advisement on what he thinks, and if we have to revisit it, it'll get sent back to me, and we'll go back to legislative, and we'll revisit what we have to clean up.
Right, I mean,
You know, I think we're gonna go around in circles, because
It
I know
does.
where you're coming from, I know where I was sitting, and what the intent was to give this board power, because they didn't have power with the administrative fees, that if a compelling case came in, to be able to waive, reduce, or anything else. That was the whole idea of doing this.
right, but we can't waive
So-
anymore. It's not waiving, it's now reducing. Because we can't waive below a certain amount. Okay, but that's okay.
Yeah, but, right, I get where you're coming from, I'm just saying, like, if I think we just put it out, let's let the attorney give his take on what we were trying to do, and see if we hit it, and then if we didn't, then
Yeah,
no harm, no foul, we'll come back and revisit. It was actually to try to help you guys out, because we heard what was happening,
right.
and we were trying to make it so your jobs were easier. We don't wanna make them harder, we wanna make them easier, so.
Well, you only made it a little harder in that we can't say, good job, no fee.
Right, but the reason that's in there, the intent behind that, and Ginny's gonna correct me if I'm wrong, with that was there's still administrative fee, our department still had to do administrative stuff, so we're still trying to recuperate some of what, because if they were behind on doing stuff was, paperwork or something like that to cover some of the paper costs and stuff like that they had to do.
The administration. So I was gonna go back to Charles pointing out the minimum. If that simply said fee protection, not minimum, fee protection. And then we've got another.
I think that would still be confusing. I think it's just gotta be the same name, it's gotta be initial fee. It just should be initial fee, but if you let us know that initial fee and minimum fee are what you planned, then that answers your question.
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue anymore. If somebody can fix that, so it's clear exactly what it meant by minimum fee. The other thing is we're now on to whether snow removal is.
An administrative fee versus an abatement cost is what you're asking.
Right.
Which I think the minimum fee protection, which you pointed out, minimum, is meant for an administrative fee.
It says that clearly.
That's how I take it.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant for all those other ones.
Okay. Now what are there's another couple of paragraphs of bold that you had here.
Should we review those
Yeah, sure.
thoughts? These are just my thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, this is open to discussion. So these were my thoughts. That the inspection was attempted, here's how I read the opportunities for us. The inspection was attempted to be scheduled before the deadline through verifiable emails, written statements by contractors contracted, dated photographs, but the owner was unable to find a licensed inspector and notified the code enforcement office before the deadline. I mean, that's been happening a lot for us, and I think if we read, if we read evidence of prompt corrective action. This is number 1 under G. The appellant took timely and documented steps to evade the violation after receiving the notice. Acceptable documentation includes blah, 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 right? I think we should be able to consider that they tried to get a contractor, they can show us documented evidence that they called the code enforcement office. They have or they have word from the code enforcement office that's in writing that said, we've been trying and trying to get a plumber or a electrician, we weren't able to do it, we expect to have it done within 2 days. That would mean that we still have to charge them $250, but they tried. Okay, that's my take on number one. Number two, the property owner didn't have access to the property because of an order of protection or something similar. You know, we've had that, and I think we would need some kind of, we would need to see the lease, and I would like to, I personally think that we shouldn't have leases where the owner doesn't have access to the property, right? So we should have some kind of evidence that they've been trying to change that lease so that they have access.
Well, the item, the proposed item does say demonstration lack of legal control, that the appellant provides evidence that they did not have legal control over the premises at the time of the violation. Includes termination of lease, property sale, or other valid transfers of control. It seems like if you didn't have access to your property for whatever reason, it's covered by item G2.
Yeah, I do too, and my take on it is what kind of documentation we need. I agree with you, and that's a case where we could reduce their fee to 50%.
You think there ought to be a sentence about what provides?
No, I'm just
Okay.
assisting the board
Okay.
in knowing what questions to ask and how to approach these kind of things. I think that's fine. That wording is fine.
Okay.
And I'm just recommending, I am not going to be here next meeting. And as a result, I'm trying to help you when these things come up.
You mentioned leases. I was aghast with it. We had a case here some months ago of a person who could not access their own property because they had a lease. That's.
Yeah, I mean.
Whoever drew up their lease needs to be.
Right. But we've also had situations, as you remember, we had that guy who couldn't go on his property because he had an order of protection.
Yes.
Which was kind of bogus, but whatever, he had an order of protection. So in a case like that, if you bring that in, we understand, and then we just agree to let him or her have some time to be able to get at the property. Okay, so the next one is mitigating circumstances. Medical emergencies which kept the owner from completing the inspections. This would, in my estimation, this would be harder to prove because there might be another person available to pick up the mail, make the arrangements. Timely communication with the code enforcement office would be a requirement for considering this exemption. Because I don't think we can just say, oh, I was in the hospital. Well, who was taking care of your property? Had you designated someone? Did you let the code enforcement office know you were going in the hospital? Or if it was an emergency, have somebody in your family call up the code enforcement office and say, we're in the doctor's office, we can't do this completion. So I don't like that exemption personally, so I'm just letting you know what I think. Anyway, and then the property was vandalized. This would require a police report, photos, and communication with the code enforcement office. If something's been vandalized and destroyed, well, we just got through that with the unsafe, but there was no fee attached. But anyway, again, just recommending some reporting. And then the inspector did not get the paperwork in. If we have documented proof that the work was done before the deadline, we've done this a lot of times, and I think this should continue, but with the understanding that you can't waive the fee.
So isn't that the case though with medical emergencies, that there needs to be some proof?
We aren't given that option anymore. Under this requirement in the code, we cannot waive the fee entirely.
I think there needs to be some consultation with the city attorney, because H indicates notwithstanding the foregoing criteria, you shall not reduce or waive. And it indicates that you.
Unless the city made a factual procedural error, but when do they ever do that?
No, you have, the board may uphold, reduce, or waive administrative fees based on the following considerations, which gives you those 4 exemptions to use for a full waiver. After that is when you can only do the half or $250. It's right in, may uphold, reduce, or waive.
I don't believe we're allowed to waive anymore.
It says in the law that you can. You might want to seek opinion from the city attorney.
Yeah, but 91
Yep.
came from, 91.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we'll do that.
yeah.
Okay, so,
In some cases, we approve the appeal, and that's basically says
waiving.
we waive the appeal, waive the fee because we appeal.
All right, well, we'll see if we can get an
Yeah.
opinion on
How
that.
about
Yeah.
in conditions where there's an economic hardship? I don't see that really addressed.
That's a hard one because,
I'm just gonna say, this has already gone through the city attorney, this went through legislative, it's gone through the city attorney, it's gone through, I think it's pretty clear that it can be waived, I think we gave you the power. If you guys have questions whether you can do that or not, I think you just.
maybe we should have a workshop on this, if it's possible, before the end of the year, and have the city attorney here.
Sure.
Well, it almost sounds from what Scott's saying, you could just say that you have the power and it's done.
Yeah, just say, ask him, do we have the power to waive, cause we're
Under
questioning
this-
G and whatever, that we think that one word says that we can, the other one says that we can't, we just want clarification on what.
When we can and when we can't. Okay,
Right. Just ask for clarification from him.
we can do that, but I also think it might be good to consider, after we get that answer, to sit around and talk a little bit before the end of the year,
Yeah,
if we could,
There's a lot of stuff.
possibly next week. So,
We'll see, yeah.
we'll see, we'll
Yeah.
work on that before we get crazy with Christmas.
I think Jenny has a question, Marge.
So that's, oh, yes,
May I ask a question?
yes, of course.
When Stephen and I were talking about fees when this ordinance was being written, the way I understood it is that the board had the power to waive the fees if code enforcement made a mistake in some way. And that is the only time the fee could be waived.
Yeah, that's,
Any other time, the fee was to be the greater of 250 or 50% of the fee that was being appealed.
Right,
So
but we
it-
changed that when we were in legislative and stuff because we didn't like that idea.
yeah, I mean, that's how we've viewed it, except in circumstances where a owner comes in and has complied, but the paperwork didn't get in, or when a owner occupant comes in and says, this, financial hardship, we look at, oh, and you'd like me to talk about financial hardship, so we'll do that in just a second. So, financial hardship, and then we say, okay, we're waiving that fee. We'll see what the, because in both of those cases, the code enforcement office did nothing wrong.
Right, yeah, and that's what we talked about, is that it should not get to the board for an appeal if the code enforcement followed everything that they were supposed to do. So because they will look to see if they made a mistake, and then the appeal should never even get to you, because then they can, in their office, waive the bill, because they realize that they made a mistake. So that is how Stephen and I talked about it.
I thought so too, but anyway,
It's not what they wrote.
one,
What's that?
yeah,
It's not what they wrote.
one of the concerns, yes, go ahead.
That hasn't changed. We've had cases where some clerical error has been made and they sent off letters and we basically approved the appeal. There was no administrative fees, the appeal was approved, meaning they didn't have to pay anything. We've done that over and over again. So that hasn't changed. This is for appealing the administrative fee if we decide that there is indeed a case that they've done something where they need to pay a fee. If they didn't do anything to need to pay a fee, their appeal is approved. there's no, we now need power to get rid of the entire fee. That's done by approving the appeal. We've done that over and over again for cases.
I know.
Yes, we have.
I
And
know.
and I don't see anything has changed.
I know. I think it has, but I may be wrong.
If
Um,
if an appeal comes in and we decide, well, you guys made a horrible mistake, we deny we
Oh,
accept the appeal.
well, yeah.
And there is zero administrative fee, there's no 150, there's no half of 250, there's nothing, there is no fee, period. And it doesn't matter whether it's percent or not percent.
I'd like to think the code enforcement office never makes a horrible mistake.
Well, it depends upon who's talking.
That's what side I guess you're on, right?
No, really,
Yeah,
you know, they have, I have to support the code enforcement office in general. I think they do a wonderful job. In specific, I think they do a wonderful job. So, let's talk for one more minute on one thing, just to get it on the record, that in the case of an owner-occupied property where they wish to claim financial hardship, Mark emailed me and said, what kind of paperwork do we need? And Ginny has said, well, their tax return, and that is a fine document, but I have a problem with, you can have a bank account that's $50,000 and a tax return which says that you're not making very much, maybe you're on Social Security or something, but you have a big bank account, you probably don't have financial hardship. So I would like to expand it to be a little bit more like, which is what we've done. We've had bank account,
Paychecks at one time.
paycheck stubs, expenses, right,
Bills, expenses.
right, like a month's worth of expenses. So we can see what they have to pay for their mortgage or their car payments or whatever, that we can take a larger amount of financial information than just their tax returns.
But
Wait,
So, Marge, just so you know, the reason why I suggested that you start with the tax return is that, especially if somebody has several accounts, and that any interest that they're earning on those accounts will have to be listed on their tax return. So that way you'll know if the person is showing you all of their financial situation and not just part of it.
that was my concern too.
yeah, I mean, so I would welcome a list of what you think we can ask people.
Well, I think what Ginny was saying is not a bad place to start, you know, that a lot of the ones that we've accepted, in my mind, and I was, I was new then, I'm still relatively new, but to me, they were places that they could hide something, you know. Not that we want to be punitive, but I want to also feel that someone pulled one over on us either, so. I mean, I think the minimum we could ask for is a tax return.
Yeah,
And I think you also, I'm sorry, I also think you need to come up with a policy of what defines financial hardship. And the reason I say that is because everybody that comes into this room, to them it's a financial hardship to pay these costs.
well, this is a very tough time, and our costs are not low. That's why I have a certain amount of sympathy, especially since we want owner-occupied, because owner-occupied rentals are much safer, much better taken care of, because the owner is right there. So I like to encourage that, and that's why, I mean, that's my personal hang-up. But we should, I would like to say tax return, let's agree on that, and monthly expenses, and
monthly expenses?
yeah, and I'd like to ask for savings account, but you may not feel comfortable with that.
Well, I'm just getting at, in the past, I mean, Ginny brought this up at a meeting, and I thought she was right, is that we have to have a certain standard, and we've accepted different things at different
So
times.
shall we be
mean,
on the
what you're
record, make a
asking is a lot.
motion?
What
Would
you're
you like to
asking
make a
is a lot.
motion to include those things in owner-occupied appeals?
Well, I mean, maybe we should talk to either Ginny further or the attorney, because all the things you're looking for seems to be kind of onerous, but, I mean, I think there should be a place in between.
I just think we want to be as responsible for this, to the city as possible,
Well,
but also.
that's my goal
Right.
too.
I know the zoning appeals board, I believe there used to be, and I don't know whether it exists now, but there's a provision for something about grandfathering. And if you have a financial exigency by the owner, they get special consideration by the zoning appeals board. And interestingly, do they have criteria? Do they have I know in the past several years, the zoning appeals board has been run by someone who didn't seem.
Well, being consistent is very important, and I support.
But it may be there's more than one place in the city where this is, the financial prices problem exists, and we ought to be consistent.
I don't think there is.
Well,
I don't think there is.
It
the zon-
applies
I-
to-
The zoning appeals board, I can't remember the exact provision.
It does?
Yeah, so it applies to variances, and it cannot be a self-imposed financial hardship. So
I
that has
can't
to,
buy a new Cadillac and then claim,
and then say, well, I
Two
can't
bills.
do this, I can't comply with the code because I don't have the money, because I just spent it,
but,
yeah.
there are other places in the city code that.
But you wouldn't, they have to demonstrate financials for why that particular project or that particular parcel won't be able to realize the return. So it's like related, but not exactly,
Not the same, they don't
Yeah.
have to show a bank account.
not usually. No.
Yeah, and
They're showing project costs, they're showing why I need to make this house a 3-unit dwelling instead of a single family because I won't realize the return. So, well, that's a
And the-
self-imposed hardship because you bought it before you were granted
And the
the variance.
criteria for acceptance is obvious, either I have enough money or I don't.
No, it has nothing to do with how much
Well,
money you
I
have.
mean, for the project,
Can I,
the project
Yeah.
either makes or doesn't.
just something to consider, as you're learning how to interpret the new ordinance, and if language needs to go back to legislative to update it and things like that, taking financial hardship out of the equation, because you are going to have the power to reduce the fee to at least the $250 or 50% of the bill that's there.
But that wasn't given to us as one of the criteria we can use as mitigating
Right.
factors in the new code.
Okay, so that was eliminated, the financial hardship part was eliminated. Okay, so, because now you've got, and I think it was eliminated, because now you've got the ability to reduce it to something that is much more manageable. And also, just so you know, the code and the finance department are working on procedures to get these, reminder notices out. So it doesn't go for a full year before people start paying attention to it. So, just food for thought. But I think the
Okay.
financial,
Well,
developing the financial hardship,
we all have a lot of things to think about, and I think we've been here a good long time and are beginning to get headaches, so, so I would like to close this meeting, first of all, by saying thank you to each one of you. I've given you a little gift and a little card, but I want to put on the record, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been, we've made some good decisions based on your participation, and I really appreciate that as chair. That makes all the difference, so thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I think we should also thank you
Yeah, thank
for
you.
putting up with us and everyone else.
Thank you.
It hasn't felt like that.
and
All
large
right,
thank
so
you to
let's-
all of